Hi friends, Kahlo here. I'm going to take you on a little tour of my collage show, Inheritance, over here at the beautiful Venturette Gallery. Inheritance. Finding the self in the past, one layer at a time. Each of these pieces is a magic spell for your home. Drawing inspiration from my Irish and German heritage, I create textured mixed media works on canvas and paper, rich in color and layered with meaning. Often incorporating intimate clippings from my grandparents' love letters, weaving my family stories into the myths of the far distant past, and sometimes using my own face as a model, I infuse my own cultural and spiritual DNA into each piece. As I mix watercolor, inks, pastels, and line drawing with various found and painted collaged papers, I'm also piecing together bits of the past to understand my place in the present. Birds are magical to me, and they have appeared in a lot of my work over the years. In many myths and legends of my Celtic and Germanic forebears, they deliver messages from the divine. My granddaddy was a pilot, soaring above the clouds in giant man-made metal birds during and after World War II. My grandmother adored him. The missives between the lovers who made me are full of plans and schemes, worries over money, gossip about relatives, and romantic longing. They are magic spells that traveled through the air and through time, and they landed in the branches of our family tree and eventually made their way to me. And now each torn bit of paper or telegram, sometimes buried under the layers of paper, some peeking through the paint and ink, infuse my canvases with their eternal love story. As a filmmaker and fan of classic film, I am in love with stories. As an actor, I am captivated by the emotion just beneath the surface of the human face. If I put a face on a canvas, it becomes a character whose beating heart and breathing I can feel, and a story begins. There are a lot of goddess figures amongst my cast of characters: the Germanic Holda, Frigg, the Norse fertility goddess for whom Friday is named, Danu from the Irish pantheon. There's a warrior queen, Boudica, you see right here. She's from Irish history, whose fierceness in battle was chronicled by her Roman opponents. You may recognize some of the names from literature in my show. There's Ophelia, for instance. Some have no names at all, but every face here conjures an open-ended story. Though I often use my own face as a model, these figures are not self-portraits any more than playing Lady Macbeth on stage is a self-portrait. I simply cast myself in stories left up to the viewer to complete. Horned gods and mother goddesses are very common in most mythological pantheons, but this mother goddess is one of my favorites. All four elements are presented with all four colors, and the model for this is the great Lillian Gish of the silent movie era, which I love so much. And there's so many layers here in this one with all the elements, and you'll see there's stamps from my grandfather's letters. Pieces of the letters appear through here. Lots of circles and shapes. There's dogs appearing, a lot of things, as well as light and light objects. And I think these abstracts go really well with her. Just their color scheme. One is called Munich 1950 because my grandfather spent a lot of time there. These abstracts are behind glass, but this is on canvas. This is Holda, and one of my favorites. She started off as a pure abstract, but her face spoke to me, and she just longed to come through, and eventually there she was. And she's always reminded me a little of Myrna Loy, the great actress Myrna Loy. She's a crowd favorite, and these abstracts go really well with her, I think. This next one coming up is called Creatrix, and she's my newest piece. And I love the story she tells. There's so much left up for you to decide, but I love the books there on that tree on the right. That's made up of photographs of books from a magazine. The tree on the left is butterflies. But there's a lot of collage mixed with pen and ink work, my two favorite things, and I think she came together really well. This last tree here that you're about to see on the right is made up of images of garbage, beautiful garbage from a story in National Geographic about the fashion industry and all of the garbage in the fashion industry. There's a piece of a letter from my grandfather. So much love in those letters. And then here are more abstracts. As you know, I have an intense interest in the human face. And I love flashing out characters, but these abstracts have caught my attention just recently. I love all of the many layers there. So many layers. And here's Ophelia, one of my favorites, Ophelia, and she has my favorite colors with that bright, wonderful red ink and the sap green. This piece called Reflection did win an honorable mention at Kallenwald show last year. And here's Danu. It's called Danu's Return, more from the Irish mythologies, with a lovely robin on her head, of course. And she has some pen and ink as well as collage mixed in. I love her. There's Aradia, and one of my favorite things about this Aradia piece is that wonderful little hole there. Then there are the abstracts. And abstracts are considered to be free of anything recognizable as story or character, but a viewer of my art recently described my abstract collages as being like terrariums that she could adventure through. And so now I envision you all as little frogs hopping amongst my glued pieces of paper, turtles scooting along, exploring my paint-spattered otherworldly landscapes. And you are the character, and your adventure is the story. And so now we're going to end with my very favorite of my abstracts, and that's called Please Do This, which is a piece of a letter from my grandfather. This is it here. And I think she works really well. And she makes me happy. She makes me think of a floating garden. And look at all the layers, all those layers of ink, pastel, watercolor, paper, transparency papers, tissue papers, magazine papers, love letters, more paint, pencil, pen, just everything you can think of. And makes her really, really juicy. So thank you for taking this little journey with me for my solo show in Sandy Springs, Georgia at the Venturette Gallery, beautiful gallery in Sandy Springs. My show is Inheritance, and it will be up through March 3rd. Everything's for sale. And once the show is over, my online shop will be open.